Recording in progress.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our council meeting this evening, and I'd like to call the council meeting to order. Offer regrets for Councillor Dirksen, who's away this evening. I'm going to ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interests under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I usually have that word down pat. Hearing none, we'll move along to the minutes of the previous meeting. A resolution by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the minutes of the Town of Minto, September 5th, 2023, regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Next resolution is by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Potnovitz, that the Town of Minto Council reconvenes into the Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. We have a delegation this evening, and it's Braden and Jessica. It's Minto Pride, and I'll ask you two folks to step to the mic and state your name and speak into the mic. And I know that you guys are used to speaking loud so everyone can hear, so there shouldn't be an issue tonight.
So my name is Braden Scott.
And Jessica Rowden.
So you guys go right into your presentation if you don't mind.
Okay. Good evening. As we share our delegation, we invite the staff member who is advancing our slides to move to a new slide every 30 seconds or so. These visuals are offered to help build context of Minto Pride community events, as well as show the decorations experiencing vandalism, which we will be referring to in our delegation. So thank you for doing that. First and foremost, we would like to extend a thank you to Council for allowing us the opportunity to speak here today. We've appreciated your ongoing support of our committee initiatives and are excited to follow up in regards to our recent letter that you received in August. As I mentioned, my name is Braden Scott, and I am the chair of the Minto Pride Committee, and I'm joined with my trusted colleague and committee member, Jessica Rowden. The Minto Pride Committee has a responsibility to ensure that our communities are safe and inclusive spaces, a shared responsibility that we take seriously and would not be possible without the ongoing support provided by Minto Council and the Cultural Roundtable. Though the visual representation of a Pride banner may seem small or insignificant, these banners provide an opportunity to build a more inclusive and unified Minto, province, country, and world. As you have read in our letter, inclusive banners already exist in local and worldwide communities. Our current request of Council is to consider funding the installation of 4 Pride banners per town that would be displayed during Pride Month and into the summer. The committee will still continue to decorate the pole wraps for the month of June. However, we desperately see a need for more permanent installations and an overall representation within the Town of Minto. The reason why we are asking the town to purchase the banners is to show their continued support, commitment, and dedication to this initiative. We understand that you may have concerns that supporting our request may set a precedent with other committees. This has been a concern presented before in other initiatives related to Minto Pride, such as the inclusivity crosswalk that was installed in Harriston. However, the crosswalk has been extremely well received by many members of our community, as well as many others who have passed through Harriston at one time or another. We also feel that the council supporting this initiative would be a strong response to the several hate crimes that have occurred in each of our towns. Imagine living here in Minto and being a part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community and seeing Pride decorations there one day and gone the next. What type of messaging do you think this sends to our community members? We can assure you it is not a positive one. We understand that in many cases, this is out of your control. However, we believe that continuing to show community members your support and active allyship will have a long-lasting positive effect in Minto.
Thanks, Braden. My turn. As you know, we continue to experience acts of hate towards our decorations and initiatives. In the letter you received, you will have read specific evidence and data about this vandalism that we have continued to experience. These acts of hate and vandalism cost our committee significant money and time. Each time they happen, they also serve as a reminder of the harm directed towards the queer community. To our knowledge, no other committee or group has experienced the same amount of targeted hate crimes, vandalism, and destruction that we have during Pride months and other events throughout the year. It is in response to this unanticipated vandalism and hate that we're proposing the banners, as they present a more sustainable, cost-effective, and long-lasting alternative, which will share a collective goal of promoting safety and inclusivity here in Minto. We believe by the council taking a stance and funding this initiative, it would continue to demonstrate their leadership and active allyship and be a proactive stance against hate. Matters in safety and inclusion hit home very close to home for many of us, both in the Minto Pride Committee as well as the greater Minto community. Even attending tonight's delegation, we needed to consider potential acts of hate and harm towards us, which isn't likely the experience of most other delegates coming here in front of your council. As a committee, our goal is to increase safety and inclusion for members of the 2S LGBTQIA community here in Minto. I practice a lot. You can probably hear it comes pretty naturally to me. We believe that increasing safety and inclusion for people who have historically and still currently experience oppression and marginalization isn't a challenge to anyone's personal or faith-based belief. We are a small volunteer-based committee. We're dedicated to advancing human rights, which we believe is larger than terms such as special interest group. For example, we do not believe that the Horticulture Society experiences vandalism or oppression for being interested in horticulture. In addition to our letter, you will also have found a report covering the costs of the Pride banners. We highly encourage you to consider funding and supporting the initiative. We feel its impacts will speak volumes for the town of Minto. We also believe it fits very nicely with our town model and slogan of "You belong here," because after all, we do truly belong here. Thank you so much again for your time and your continued support, and we are very happy to take any questions that you may have.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was well written and well said. So, yeah, we'll questions, anyone for Braden or Jessica? It's extremely unfortunate that this has happened and continues to happen. It's sad, actually. I find it quite sad. It's unfortunate that we do not have surveillance all over town to catch the folks that are doing it, and I'm certain that it's just a minority of people, closed-minded folks. So, and quite honestly, they might not even be from our town. It's hard to say. We'll likely never know. So we are going to, if there's no questions, we'll accept this for information. We're going to be dealing with the resolution a little bit later. And if you too want to stay, that's fine. If not, I'm sure it's coming up very quickly, right, Annalee?
Yes, there's just gonna be one set of minutes and then
Yep.
we'll go into the
And so
report.
there might be, we could give you the opportunity to answer a question or two when the resolution comes up. Okay?
Happy to-
So, all right, so thank you very much for now.
Thank you.
So now we have, as I was telling you, Jessica, we have public question period. So if you've got a burning question, if not, we have our correspondence. We have a recommendation by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman, that the council receives the correspondence for information, as information. We have 4 items on the list this evening. And we have a proclamation from the Mapleton Senior Center for Excellence. And Annaline, if you want to take a moment and read that for us, that would be.
Absolutely. Whereas older adults in Canada have been and continue to be valued and important lifelong contributors to the advancement of Canadian society, whereas older adults are at risk of fatal fall-related injuries, as well as non-fatal fall-related injuries that frequently result in disability, chronic pain, loss of independence, and reduced quality of life, whereas falls are the leading cause of injury-related deaths and hospitalizations and cost the healthcare system $9.1 billion direct costs, resulting in 1.5 million emergency department visits, 133,017 hospitalizations, 38,848 disabilities, and 5,249 deaths. Whereas Fall Prevention Month is an annual call to action campaign that encourages Canadian organizations and individuals to come together to deploy fall prevention efforts each November for a coordinated and larger impact. Everyone has a role to play in creating change to prevent falls and fall-related injuries. Therefore, we, Mayor Turton and councillors of the town of Minto, do hereby proclaim November as Fall Prevention Month. If you so wish to, if you wish to pass that proclamation, there would need to be a mover and a
Okay.
seconder.
Everybody understands the proclamation of our Fall Prevention Month. Can I have a mover and a seconder for us to go ahead with that? Deputy Mayor Anderson? Councillor Zimmerman? Okay, so all in favor of that motion? So I'm going to proclaim then that November be Falls Prevention Month. So thank you for that. Okay, so the next item is the Town of Grimsby establishing guaranteed livable income. It's a great idea, but the next one is Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. That's an update. And it's always an excellent update. There's a lot of information on that report. And is there anything, Councillor Potnovitz, that you want to point out in reference to that?
Not really. We didn't do much over the summer. We toured a couple of the conservation areas and gained a lot of information through that, but we actually have our first meeting tomorrow.
Perfect, okay. Yeah, I think that's a good read. Everyone should, there's a lot of information and it tells a lot about what Maitland Valley does for us. Next item then is the Minto Chamber of Commerce, the letter to Westario Power, concerns regarding power outages.
Mayor Turton?
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor
Let's pull that.
Gunson.
I think the council should actually endorse and support this letter to Westario. I think as recently as a couple weeks ago, the power was out again. Yeah, all morning. So it really affects our businesses, and I think we need to show them our support and support this going to Westario.
Okay. Do we need a seconder for that?
I would just make the motion then that council of the town of Minto endorse and supports Minto Chamber of Commerce concerns with power outages in Harriston. And so then, yes, you would need a mover and a
Yes.
second.
So we have a mover. Councillor Potnovitz seconded. I was talking to our Minto's representative to that Westario committee, George Bridge. He knows about the outages. He has brought it to the attention of the board, and they are working towards a solution. They're possibly thinking it's animals, possibly loose wires, bare wires, trees, things like that. So this letter will certainly let them know that it is important to us and our chamber. And we, as representation and part owners, it's a no-brainer. So all in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to pass did we pass the original motion, Annalee?
We have not yet
Okay.
done the rest of the correspondence.
All right, so that was moved by Councillor Wright, second by Councillor Zimmerman. The council receives the correspondence as information. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move into committee minutes for approval. The Minto Trail Committee minutes of July 19th. We'll ask Paul to give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor Turton and members of council. There's an update just on our Trails Committee meeting we had in July in Clifford at the Old Rotary Park there. We were able to welcome a couple of new members to the committee there as well. So we actually have a full committee at this point with representation from everywhere, each of the 3 towns and townships. So Bill Raynard took the place of the second representative from Clifford. He's well known to Minto for his participation in athletics here. And then Steve Lobsinger from near Palmerston joined the committee as a representative for the township. I did a brief update there as well, just from a staff point of view with ongoing work, so some signage installs, further work with clearing corridors of the vegetation, the trees that are growing in there, and some upcoming projects and improvements that we have some decisions to make or that we're moving forward on in the future. The main purpose of our choice of location there was a site visit to the Clifford Ann Street Trail. So several of you are probably familiar with that. So it runs the full length of town behind the residences that front onto Ann Street. So it's the old railway line there. So from essentially Old Rotary Park right through to West Heritage Roads at the top end of town there. So it was just to illustrate to new members of the committee and to get some input from all members of the committee on the need for some work there and to evaluate the practicality of some other proposed work that we had there as well. So it had been suggested by some members last year that it might be a logical thing to delineate the trail that's town property from the backyards of the residents who back onto that. Planting of cedars was one thing that we had looked at. After we visited that site, we realized there's enough residences that have already chosen to put up fences of their own, and we anticipate that as that trail becomes more heavily used, especially as developments move forward in Clifford, there'll be more population there and no doubt more usage of those trails, that probably some of those folks who have not yet put up such a visual barrier to the trail will do that. So that, along with there being some tight spaces to actually incorporate that sort of planning and the ongoing maintenance that would fall back on our part, it was the consensus of the committee to forego any planting at this time. I believe that's the bulk of that meeting. I think one member had to bail because we fed a lot of mosquitoes because it's fairly wet corridor and that was prime time for mosquitoes there at 7 in the evenings. Take any questions if members of council.
Thank you, Paul. The recommendation is moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The Council of the Town of Minto receives the Minto Trail Committee minutes of July 19th, 2023 for information and approves any recommendations contained therein. Questions for Paul? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Just a question about the Darcy family and the proposed exchange. I don't know the history of that or what the plan is or.
Okay, and that's I believe Councillor Elliott asked a similar question at the last meeting too. And a lot of that detail hasn't come to council maybe in depth yet. We're gonna meet some members of staff. So CAO Harrow, Terry from the building department, myself, just with the property owners too, just to lay out a little bit clearer picture of what that would look like if we were to do that exchange of properties. So that's something that will probably come forward later this fall or into the new year.
So the purpose of the exchange is to include more land into the trail or just clarify?
It would, so the trail bed itself wouldn't be changed.
Okay.
A piece of it that is adjacent to the trail coming out of Palmerston abuts the Darcy property, and in their rehabilitation of that, it would be an easier project for them that would probably end up in a better landscape for that property if that were exchanged for a piece that is landlocked to them but is closer to Palmerston and is actually a significantly larger piece. There's no developed trails through there, but there's the potential going forward that as development moves out of Palmerston, that we could enhance that and incorporate that piece into what's already there.
Thank you.
Other questions? Paul, how is that going to be moved ahead? How are we going to decide? You got to obviously have you have ideas on that?
Yeah, so we've had a bit of turnover in committee since it was first visited, and there's definitely some people who have just varying perspectives on it and what they would like to see council do with it. I'd like to get an opportunity to have a little bit clearer picture as to what that would look like from the landowner's perspective. And we did meet with them last year and got the impression that they're very amicable to taking suggestion for work that would be well received by us and that would be useful to our trail system. But we're, we would like to meet and just lay that out a little bit more in black and white before the committee brings a recommendation.
So that's the plan then.
Yeah.
Once you become more informed, the committee will bring a recommendation. Good.
Correct.
Other questions? So it's really nice to see a couple new members
For sure.
stepping forward. It's a volunteer situation, and I know that Bill Raynard's been a big part of the Parks and Recreation, and he understands what's going on in Minto, even though he lives in Howick. And Steve Lobsinger, it's great. So, saying all that, if there's no more questions, we move by, I think I already said that. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is ECDev 2023, a staff report by Belinda Wick-Graham, ECDev 2023-021, Minto Pride Committee banner proposal. Go ahead, Belinda.
Yep. Good evening, Mayor Turton, members of council. Thank you, Jessica and Braden, for coming tonight and for all the work that Minto Pride does. It's important and it's hard, hard work, and we are so grateful to have them in our community. So I will walk you through this report. So as you know, in July, you received correspondence from Minto Pride that they referenced tonight regarding the installation of banners for the light fixtures in our downtown areas. At that meeting, staff advised that we would bring back a report, and today we are doing so. So this correspondence was initially received by the Minto Cultural Roundtable and discussed at our June 26th meeting. That discussion included the number of banners to install, locations, i.e. the entry into our downtowns, production costs, installation costs, and cost sharing. We had a go-forward plan that was agreed upon in principle, pending council approval, that would see 4 Pride banners installed at the entrances to each of our downtowns. So if you're coming into Hairston, 2 on this end, 2 at this end, same for the other ones, for a total of 12 banners, with Minto Pride being responsible for fundraising the cost of the banners and the town being responsible for the cost of installation. Subsequent discussions following the roundtable meeting with the Pride Committee resulted in a request for the town of Minto to consider cost sharing on the production of the Pride banners and to consider installing the banners for a longer period of time. The banners in the downtown core, just for background, are installed in May each year, earlier if the weather allows, by our friends in Public Works, and displayed until the end of September. And then at the beginning of October, the Legion's veteran banners are displayed until right after Remembrance Day. The Legion banners are purchased by the Legions and paid for through donations and sponsorships, and the town of Minto installs these banners every year. The proposed banner, the example here is from Fergus, and the Pride Committee would like something similar, but with the Minto Pride at the top. The cost we have quoted is $115 plus HST, so for 12 banners would be just over $1,500. Staff agree with Minto Pride that the addition of the banners on the light poles would be a more permanent representation of Pride, have a longer lifespan, be more environmentally sustainable, be more cost effective, and reduce the ease of vandalism. As outlined, the town supports the Legion each year with providing time and labor to install or remove the Remembrance Day banners, with the production costs being paid for by the 2 Legions. So with this information, the staff's proposal is to ensure equity across all organizations, or fairness across organizations in the use of banner arms and the support provided by the town. So we're suggesting that the town approve the initiative to install 4 Pride banners in each downtown, 2 at each entrance, from the beginning of May until the end of September. This demonstrates support for inclusivity, not just during Pride Month, but also helps to reduce the town of Minto's installation costs. That the production costs of the banners be the responsibility of the Minto Pride Committee, that the town of Minto provides the time and labor each year for the installation and removal of the Pride banners, and that the town of Minto will assist the Minto Pride Committee in fundraising efforts through social media and website content and process any donations received at the municipal office. I will note in the past too, our downtown committees have been supportive of Minto Pride's efforts and have donated to their decorations in the past. Staff will look to prepare and bring back a policy on the use of banner arms at a later date. In assisting the Minto Pride Committee, as outlined above, staff and council will continue to support the vision statement of the town as a friendly, safe, affordable, family-oriented rural community built on a foundation of respect, volunteerism, and prosperous business, and sustained by people who value neighborliness, fairness, and inclusiveness. So the contribution financially is staff time and labor for the installation and removal of these pride banners as part of the 2024 operating budget. And as you can see from the report, I'm not going to read it all, but this proposal matches many elements of our strategic plan and showcasing that we are an inclusive community. So that is our report.
Thank you, Belinda. So recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Potnevitz, that the Council of Town of Minto receives ACDEV 2023-021 regarding the Minto Pride Committee banner proposal, and that the Council of Town of Minto approve the staff proposal outlined in the report, ACDEV 2023-021. I'm going to open it up for questioning. Any questions to Belinda or to Braden, Jessica? Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
I'm in support of what's happening with the idea of putting out there. I think it's great. I think inclusivity in our community is great. The question I may have is 5 months. If there's other organizations that were coming along in, say, July and said we would like to put a banner up for the month of July or the month of August, would that be available to that use? Would they be able to exchange them and maybe move them back and forth, or is that a permanent position?
So this is why we will be bringing a policy forward, Councillor Elliott. I think the pride banners and our commitment to inclusivity, all around inclusivity from May to September is good. We do own a lot of poles. Mike, do you remember the exact number of poles? We have a lot of poles. So there's lots of room to look at other poles to post banners on. The problem becomes time for Public Works. That's why we're not doing a 1 month thing, or not the only reason, but part of the reason we're not just putting the banners up in June is because Public Works would have to go up and down, like May, take them down at the end of May, put the pride ones up in June, take them down at the end of June, put new ones up in July, and then take them down. So we want to get away from like constantly changing banners. It is a large time.
So we may leave the Legion ones up a little longer now then?
They
That's up and down 1 month, right?
a month and a half, and that's what they
Roughly 6
request.
weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
their request, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And that's why we're going to be bringing back a policy.
Other questions? Yeah, go ahead,
Just a
Councillor
couple
Johnson.
simple ones.
Sure.
Where would the banners be stored? Who's responsible for them after they're taken down every year?
There's
Some of-
12 banners, so luckily that's not going to take up a lot of
Okay.
room. We could store those in our basement here.
Okay. Nope. And then there's, like, that wouldn't be the only, like, we have lots of banners that stay up that amount of time, right? Like, there's the downtown, like Downtown Rising, like
Yes,
all
so
different ones. It's not, right? Like, there's quite a few.
Hairston Rising, Clifford Connects, and All Aboard Palmerston received RED funding in 2020, so they have a large number of banners. We also purchased Canada Day banners back when it was Canada's anniversary. And so essentially, those are all town-owned banners. Those are our organizations, and so we store those
I
in
knew
the
there was
public works.
some other ones up there. It's not like we're just spending time to put 12 banners up in May, right? Like, there's
Yeah,
quite a few going up. Okay.
sorry, we have storage units that we store our banners in.
Okay. And then we look after cleaning them, putting them away, and making sure they last more than 2 years. Right, Mike?
Ours, we look after. The Legions, they look after their own.
Themselves.
Yeah, themselves and store them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, again.
Good questions, and I'm sure that that will be specified in the banner proposal. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
If we're concerned about, why don't we leave them up and the Legion have theirs too? So if we got lots of balls, why take them down in September? Why not leave them till November when you're climbing the poles anyway? Why not go to the end of November or whenever it is? The November 11th, I guess, is what we're looking at.
Ron, what is the question? Sorry.
I'm asking, I said, if part of the problem is we're going up and down poles and changing them all, when the Legion are putting up their banners, we're pulling down these banners. So why not just leave them up? because we're only invading 4 poles in the community. So there should be lots of poles.
Well, there's actually more Legion banners and a growing number of banners than we do have poles,
So
Counselor
we
Elliott.
need
So
those
we need
for-
those 12 poles.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yep.
So if we can leave them longer, why not leave them longer? But if not, that's fine.
Other questions? Okay, then all in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. That's how simple it is, you guys. So again, if you guys want to stay, that's terrific. If not, that's fine as well. But thank you for coming. And good luck to you guys and your committee. I mean, we talk about volunteers. There's 2 of you standing right there and all your committee, nobody gets paid. So, absolutely. Well, and yourself too. And you guys are a big part of that, the Minto Pride. You're Chair Braden and and you need leadership. So, yeah, thank you. I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Gunson.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. So we have one report tonight, PW 2023-018, Winter Maintenance of Connecting Links Agreement. And Mike's gonna talk about that.
Thank you, Chair Gunson and Council. Yeah, this is just a quick annual report for the winter maintenance of our connecting links through Harrison and Clifford with IMOS, Integrated Maintenance and Operations Services, Inc. There is a slight increase to this contract with them, but with the CPI that we've seen increasing over the last couple of years, definitely justifiable. So if there's any questions, I'll
Yep.
be happy to
I'll
ask.
read the recommendation, moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Elliott. The Council of the Town of Minto receives report PW 2023-018 regarding winter maintenance of connecting links agreement and considers approving 2 bylaws in regular session, authorizing the mayor and clerk of the Town of Minto to sign the agreements. Any questions for Mike?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ed.
Yes, through you, Mayor Turton. I'm a little bit familiar with connecting links, but this is just agreement for the snow removal. Does that also include like maintenance of the connecting links? If we had,
No, this is just primarily patrolling, snow removal, and application of materials for the winter months.
okay,
24-hour service.
So what happens on those connecting links if the pavement has to be replaced or something like that? Do we have to, is that?
Yeah,
That's
that's all
all?
us. Any, any asphalt replacement or potholes, anything like that. This is strictly just the winter operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll ask a question. All in favor? That's passed. Thank you. I'm going to pass the chair back to Mayor Turton.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gunson. The next item on the agenda is FIN 2023-013. It's the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority Draft Cost Apportioning Agreement. And Treasurer Duff is going to tell us about this. It's all
Right,
yours, Gord.
Thanks, Mayor Turton. This may seem a little familiar. We had a very similar agreement come before you in June of 22 for the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. So as we all know, the rules and legislation governing conservation authorities has undergone some rapid changes. And this is the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority's response to that. Basically, they've had requirements, I guess, to prioritize or divide their programs between mandatory ones that they're all doing and no agreement is required, something specific for a municipality, and they would just do it for that municipality. And then these non-mandatory programs that they have selected is a benefit to all. So this covers 2 programs, water quality and public awareness and education. So what they've done is they've done a background. Again, Minto is a relatively small part of the watershed for the Saugeen Valley, and they've come up with a formula to apportion these costs for the public education and for the water quality. And there's a related agreement. And if you're in favor. There's a bylaw which has been prepared later for this one. And again, it's very similar to the one for the Maitland Valley. There's no net increase to the levy or anything here. Every year they prepare the budget, as you all know, and there may be changes up or down after that. But this is more apportioning within the members of the watershed.
Thank you, Treasurer Duff. So the recommendation moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Council of Town of Minto receive a report FIN 2023-013 regarding the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority draft cost apportioning agreement. Council of the Town of Minto support and endorse the draft cost apportioning agreement for the SVCA's Category 3 program and services to meet the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks regulatory requirements. The Council of the Town of Minto considers passing a bylaw in regular session authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute the cost apportioning agreement on behalf of the Town of Minto. Questions for Gord? We have, likely a year or so ago, we did the one for MVCA.
Yeah, about June of 22. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know that MVCA chose to get it tidied up quickly before the election, and they did. And go ahead, Councillor Potnowitz.
Yes, Mayor Turton. Just a question in general. Is the Saugeen Conservation, are these structures similar to Maitland Valley? Do we have representation that sits on their board?
Yes, it's joined again because we're a small portion. So we shared, I believe years ago, I think it was Mark McKenzie. So he just happened to be on the board, but it's kind of like a democracy based on the size of your watershed and the apportionment. So we share it with 2 or 3, I believe.
Wellington North, so
and that's it.
you're our representative as well as Mapleton and Wellington North. Ed, if you didn't know that, I apologize.
For Maitland.
Yeah.
Sorry?
For Maitland.
For Maitland, yes, and so Steve McCabe is our representative for, Councillor Steve McCabe from Wellington North is our representative for Minto and as well as Wellington North. So we have 2 watersheds. I believe Wellington North has 2, possibly 3. And Mapleton is part of the Grand and Maitland. So it's kind of
a lot
a
of crossing of political boundaries on these watersheds. Yes.
So Saugeen starts halfway to Clifford. And, you know, over, it's a very, very small portion of Minto, so. Other questions for our treasurer? Hearing none? All in favor of this motion? Thank you very much. That's carried. We'll go with announcements, and we'll start with Councillor Zimmerman.
Well, I do have one announcement tonight. As you know, Treasurer Duff and myself, we sit on the Tiviadale Historical Society Committee. A bunch of volunteers that are interested in preserving history of Minto and area. And based upon the funding that we will be receiving from the Mayor's Golf Tournament and donations, we actually now have sufficient funds to go ahead with our project. We still haven't finalized the location yet. We've been asking around, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of enthusiasm over the OPP site. So I think we're kind of leaning more towards the Tiviadale truck stop site, but we're still waiting to hear from the county whether it's going to go or not. Possibly by the end of the month. But, it won't happen until the new year that we get this up and constructed, but at least we have the funding, so that's a little bit of good news.
Good, thank you. And it's good to have the money in the bank before you start the project.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Councillor Zimmerman. Who's next? I have 2 items. Everyone is fair. Sorry.
I have an item to bring up.
Go ahead.
Friday night is the start, I believe, of Culture Days. Is that the first night? apples and astronomy out at the farm. Anybody who's interested, there will be hot apple cider, there'll be apples for sale, there'll be apple treats. Or we'll put on his light show, if you want to call it that. The stars are bright, bright, bright. You hardly need a telescope right now to see them, despite the fog early in the morning. Come on up, have a seat, join us, bonfire, whatever. And I think we're going to change the time from 6:30 to 10:30.
So it starts at 6:30?
Yeah, everybody's welcome, and David will be there to greet you in case I'm not home from work yet.
Well, thank you. So a couple items, everybody's aware that this weekend was the Harrison Fall Fair. There was lots of people there, there was a lot of excitement, and congratulations to that committee. Same thing with Palmerston a month or so ago. Again, it's all volunteers and things just happen. So with the volunteers working hard and setting things up, it's pretty amazing every year. So thank you to those folks. The other thing, National Day for Truth and Conciliation is Saturday, September 30th. So anyone that has an orange shirt or T-shirt, whatever, from last year or the year before, or if it's something new, we're talking about wearing them on the 29th of September, just to be a little bit, be out there a little bit more. And if you need one or would like to purchase one, there's a site that you can go to. So, all right, thank you. Next resolution, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Committee of a Whole convene in regular council. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Notices of motion. Any notices of motion? Hearing none. We'll move along to the next resolution, which is moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaws. Moved by Councillor Potnovich, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that bylaw 2023-049 be read a third and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Next item is moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that bylaws 2023-057, 2023-058, and 2023-059 be read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. That is the two connecting links for winter maintenance on Highway 9 and Highway 9, 23, and 89, and then the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority cost apportioning agreement. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Confirmatory bylaw was moved by Councillor Potnovich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that bylaw 2023-060 to confirm the actions of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held September 19th be read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion? Adjournment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman. The Council of the Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you very much.